to put himself forward as a candidate.
Dude, that's so good. This is so perfect, dude. This is a perfect demonstration of Republican obstructionist policies in display. They do not have any real goals. So now they're just like spitballing and fighting one another with no objective sight.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're coming on the air with breaking news and a major shift in power on Capitol Hill. The House just voted to remove Speaker Kevin McCarthy from his post in a high-stakes vote just now on the House floor. It comes after McCarthy, the top Republican, cut a deal with Democrats to avert a government shutdown over the weekend that angered some in his own party whose demands were dropped in the negotiations. It happened because one of those Republicans, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, introduced the resolution to remove McCarthy just last night. And it's the first time this process has ever successfully removed a House Speaker in American history. Let's go right now to senior Capitol Hill correspondent Garrett Haig. Garrett, what happens now?
Well, Lester, a speakership that began in historic fashion less than a year ago now ends in historic fashion with Kevin McCarthy, the first speaker to ever be removed from that position by a vote on the floor. What we'll see in the immediate term is the naming of a speaker pro tem, a temporary speaker, a caretaker speaker who will lead the House through the next election to replace Kevin McCarthy and select someone else to be second in line for the presidency. This could be a contentious process as well. The speaker lost 8 Republican votes, along with every Democrat voting to vacate the chair.
Do you think he would have predicted something? I mean, yeah, the never-Kever said that they were going to do this, and they did.
An open question. The House will be largely paralyzed until that question can be answered, Lester.
There's nothing funnier to me. I'm sorry, we're going to get to what this means for the government going forward, but there's nothing funnier to me than, like, trying to bully the Democrats to vote to save Kevin McCarthy.
He's one of the names that has been floated about. But I think big picture, Lester, it really highlights the deep divisions within the Republican Party right now. The fact that this is happening after that showdown over trying to keep the government open. And the question becomes, what does happen next? Look, I've been talking to Republicans who are expressing frustration about what they're seeing on Capitol Hill. The fact that this is going on against the backdrop of 2024. They say, look, to the point that
How does
Garrett
it
was
benefit
just
the Democrats to vote out McCarthy? What do you mean? It's the Republican Party rat fucking itself. Why would that not benefit the Democrats? Like, why would the Democrats care about the Republican Party destroying itself because they have a slim majority? You think anytime you think about anything, assume what would the Republicans do in a situation if the roles were reversed, okay? If the Democrats operate in a similar capacity, that means they're doing a good fucking job, okay?
I think the question and the concern within the Republican Party is, will this type of activity on Capitol Hill, what GOP candidate Mike Pence has described as chaos, by the way, today, will that take away from those high marks that they are getting?
Right now, yeah,
from the perspective of the voters,
Kevin
they are
pack.
Looking at a series of somewhat chaotic
Never-Kever's rising up once again.
Ceiling, the near government shutdown, the GOP frontrunner who's facing 4 indictments. So the big question, could this mar them heading into 2024?
Former Speaker Kevin McCarthy is going to try to run for the speakership again. We know it took 15 votes.
So you're saying it helps Democrats, but it fucks over the American people. House is deadlocked now for who knows how long. Countdown to shutdown in just 45 days. That is an insane fucking situation to put on the Democrats. Okay? Kevin McCarthy and the Republican Party internally caused this from the jump because of their slim majority. Okay? If they actually cared about the American population and not pushing for a shutdown, they wouldn't have literally tried to push for a shutdown and then did this to Kevin because he had no other option but to literally continue budgeting and continue funding the government for 45 extra days, dog. The fuck do you mean? It's insane. And more insane because we already had this conversation like 2 months ago where they said, okay, that's fine. You'll make some concessions to us and we'll promise, we'll do one of those like pinky promises where I fucking do this behind my back to not have this happen literally right now. But you can't do anything when you have an actual terrorist in your ranks. A terrorist who will not be punished by his own voters.
This was not something that involved sort of both sides in the aisle, as we often talk about and often hear about here in Washington. This is, I think, the Republican ideological fight, the battle royale that is unfolding in that party writ large in several ways here. Longer term wise, listen, I think we've got to look at the way that American people view the institution.
Can you believe the drama 8 months ago getting him voted in? Yes. Wait, there's a fight! There's a fight! Let's... Yeah. I mean, this was 8 months ago when the Never Kevers were fucking rising the fuck up, doing the damn thing, okay? They were doing the damn thing back then, and they're doing the damn thing now.
To raise their profiles, if you will. So all of it, let me go back to sort of where we started here. Uncharted territory, Lester, no kidding. That's where we are, and that's where we're going to be for a bit.
Yeah, we're seeing the pictures of the major players. Matt Gaetz, who was the one that pulled the political trigger on this, he was talking to reporters on Capitol Hill. We'll hear more from him, I suspect. Let me bring in...
Well, you know, the stages of grief, I think, are in progress right now.
Let's listen to a little of this.
Colleagues, I think there was a stage of denial, and I've certainly experienced a good amount of their
so
anger.
happy. Look at this little
shithead. I think the world of Steve Scalise. I think he'd make a phenomenal speaker.
Has anyone spoken to you? We've got less than 45.
I'm afraid of $33 trillion in debt crushing the working people in my district. I'm afraid of the dollar losing its status as the global reserve currency. If they want to expel me, let me know when they have the vote.
Yeah, that will definitely, the dollar will, you're afraid of the dollar losing its value, which is why we're shutting the government down, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, no, that'll certainly help, idiot.
That led to today's ouster of the now outgoing.
You know what he's actually afraid of? The FBI. Continuing its active investigation into him sex trafficking minors. That's what he's really afraid of. Let's be real.
The chamber, Matt Gaetz, continue to talk. Let me bring in Chief
Maybe
White
he's
House.
doing all this and boosting his public profile, so when the inevitable fucking FBI investigation comes to a conclusion or something, he can be like, they're ousting me because I was, you know, a brave truth teller about American debt or some shit. You know what I mean? Maybe. I'm just saying. I'm just spitballing at this point because, like, there is not any real reason to do this other than to say fuck it, YOLO, and for that I thank the Republicans for doing that. Okay. Oh, Never Kevers, rise up, baby! A new speaker rise from the ashes. Yeah, Santos. It's his time. It's his time. He deserves it.
For favors, we are breaking the fever now, and we should elect a speaker who's better.
So if not Kevin McCarthy,
I mean, it's cool because like Matt Gaetz basically took on the Tea Party momentum in the exact same ways and pushed it to a degree that like the original benefactors of the Tea Party, the facilitators of the Tea Party would fucking despise this moment. Do you see what I'm saying? Like he literally is, he saw, just like Trump, the momentum that the Tea Party had, okay, which was astroturfed out the fucking wazoo by the Koch brothers, or the Koch brother now, right? And he did what they've been doing in perpetuity since its inception. And now it's actually hurting the same capital owners who just only want to weaponize this kind of thing to their benefit, to like continue crippling the federal government. Because like he's not going to actually be able to make demands that get addressed by the broader Republican majorities, like, I don't know, gutting child tax benefits or some shit. I don't think that that's going to happen. So, who knows? I say the FBI continue its investigation instead of stepping away from said investigation on Matt Gaetz's misdealings with minors. Okay? That's what I say.
That this represents the ripping off of the Band-Aid, and that's what we need to do to get back on track.
How do you pass anything if 200 Republicans, how do you pass anything?
Say to your colleagues who argue you don't have another name right now. You don't have someone else who could get 218 votes. What do you tell those colleagues?
Well, I would tell them that for certain, Kevin McCarthy can't get 218 votes, so let's try the next person.
So how do you pass something with pro tem, obviously?
There would have to be a real meeting of the minds there.
Congressman Gaetz, how do you pass something if there's 200 Republicans?
Somebody else has another question.
Are you going to ask for a guarantee from whoever is that floated as a candidate for the next speaker for them to actually move the appropriations process along in a speed that satisfies you?
Yes.
Congressman, at this
So
point,
will you be
what
putting
is-
yourself forward for the speakership?
Absolutely not. I have no desire to be Speaker of the
How
House.
do you pass, Congressman, with all due respect, how do you pass something if you don't have 200 Republicans behind you?
I know we've already asked about names, but what about Emmer and others?
I think the world of Tom Emmer. He'd make a great Speaker.
Congressman, are you going to
Have you spoken with Scalise? Have you spoken with Emmer?
I've spoken with him, but I'll probably keep our conversations between us.
Congressman, take the speaker.
What was going through your head when the vote gavelled down and it was official McCarthy wasn't Speaker?
Just we got to move to the next step. You know, we are not at the end of this process. Okay, at most we're approaching halftime. We've got to be able to assemble a governing coalition. We have to build from a place of trust. The reason Kevin McCarthy went down today is because nobody trusts Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy has made multiple contradictory promises. And
I'm making
when they
memes
all
in
came
real
due,
time, chat.
He lost votes.
I'm
to
having
people who
fun with
maybe
it.
don't even ideologically agree with me on everything. Take, for example, my colleague from South Carolina, Ms. Mace. She has different views than I do on a variety of subjects, but what we had in common, Kevin McCarthy lied to all of us.
Congressman, hold on a second. You're saying that nobody trusts Kevin McCarthy, but you're talking about, including yourself, about 7 Republicans compared to about 200 and about, some odd Republicans who actually do trust him. So can you kind of explain that here?
Well, as it turns out, getting 200 Republicans to trust
American
you isn't
chatters,
enough
you
to
are
stay
now
Speaker.
behaving like one of our European social democracies' massive L. No, the massive L is that we're behaving like a European social democracy without any of the fucking benefits of a robust welfare state or public transit. That's the big L here, okay? We love taking the absolute worst from our contemporary countries, our peers, and not any of the good, okay? It's just the fucking worst.
With great confidence that I'm doing the right thing.
Did the former president call you today? Did the former president call you today?
Americans who are concerned about the future of the conservative agenda in the House GOP.
I would say that the conservative agenda was being paralyzed by Speaker McCarthy. We hadn't even sent a subpoena to Hunter Biden. Our oversight was lackluster. Our spending priorities.
Ask my conservative mom about this. She's upset and now strongly dislikes the far-right Republicans and is showing signs of finally ridding herself in the anti-trans hate, saying, who actually cares about trans people? It's completely blown out of proportion. It's almost like the Republican Party is showing themselves some sort of curse. Yeah.
Any future speaker elected allows the motion to vacate to stay at a 1-person threshold.
Yes.
Congressman Gates, would you
Considering that Steve Scalise votes in line with Speaker McCarthy most of the time, why should he want the job after this just happened?
That's a question for him, I guess, not me.
He said he's uninterested. He's already said he's
I haven't heard him say that.
No, he's already.
What has he said to you?
Well, here's what I would say. Here's what I say. I think a lot of members are going to reflect on their thinking after this historic moment. I think anything that people have said before the McCarthy ouster is probably bearing less weight than the way people may be thinking about these questions after the McCarthy ouster.
What is the end game?
Comments about Steve Scalise yesterday and today. Will you yourself nominate Steve Scalise for Speaker of the House?
Maybe. I want to hear from him. I mean, I'm not here to make.
Dude, that's my favorite part. He doesn't even have a guy. He doesn't even know if Steve Scalise wants it, dude. He's like, no, I'm going to do it.
He'd like to put himself forward as a candidate.
Dude, that's so good. This is so perfect, dude. This is a perfect demonstration of Republican obstructionist policies in display. They do not have any real goals. They've actually made all of the tangible policy goals, like eviscerating fucking federal regulation, the regulatory body in general, like they achieved all of that. So they have nothing left. So now they're just like spitballing and fighting one another with no objective sight. Okay? Well, I mean, with no reason, with no real transparent objective in sight. Sorry. Where they're just kind of fucking each other up now for no fucking particular reason. They're just like bored. They said YOLO. Let's fuck shit up. Suffering from success. Exactly. They forgot that you're not supposed to go that far. You're not supposed to win all the fucking time. And now they're doing it. They said, fuck it. YOLO. Don't give a shit. No 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour, except the reality comes kicking in. Because at the top of the hour, there is a 3-minute ad break. We're going to get to the Fox 5 right now. Let's get to Jesse Waters, the biggest douchebag of all.
So the Democrats and Republicans will meet separately to discuss who they want to have as Speaker. The effort being led by Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, who's fuming over out-of-control spending and claims McCarthy's broken promises. Lawmakers duking it out all day over what Kevin's fate should be.
Think long and hard before you plunge us into chaos, because that's where we're headed if we vacate the speakership.
Chaos is Speaker McCarthy. Chaos is somebody who we cannot trust with their word.
We need a speaker who will fight for something, anything, besides just staying or becoming speaker.
Under Speaker McCarthy's leadership, our House Republican majority has actually defied all odds and overperformed expectations again and again and again.
This chamber has been run better, more conservatively, and more transparently under Mr. McCarthy than any other speaker that I have served under.
If this House of Representatives has exceeded all expectations, then we definitely need higher expectations.
Former President Trump weighing in on Truth Social, saying, quote, "Why is it that Republicans are always fighting among themselves? Why aren't they fighting the radical left Democrats who are destroying our country?" Judge Janine.
Wait,
I'm furious. First of all,
what?
without
the radical Democrats.
Something like this hasn't happened in well over 100 years. And now what we've got is total chaos when the Republicans are playing out their infighting on national television in a historic way instead of fighting Joe Biden's policies. The one time we are
what policy, dumbass? You have no policy. You won everything. What policy? What do you want to kill women that even think about getting an abortion? Like what's the policy you have? Like a federal mandate?
I am furious. There's no question that this is something that they
What policy? Just like melting homeless people? Melting unemployed people. If you're on unemployment insurance for more than fucking 4 months, we just kill you. Or we come to your house and we use the National Guard to make you get back to work at gunpoint. If you're on disability, we just fucking kill you. Is that the policy? What policies remain in the Republican Party, really?
Are now joining with the MAGA Republicans to oust Speaker McCarthy. This is like the devil is in the middle of all of this chaos, and Donald Trump is worried. Why are the Republicans fighting with each other like this?
That's fucked
so
up.
Chad Pergram is telling us.
Oh, that's from January 4th.
They may meet tonight. It's all in flux. Greg, you've been following this very closely all day. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I got to leave because they need a speaker.
You do.
So I just got to.
I hate the distinction between MAGA Republicans and Republicans that the Democratic Party has created. But I'll be honest with you. I also find it particularly funny that they have started using that distinction on the Fox side because everyone's a fucking liberal at the end of the day. There is no distinction between MAGA Republicans and Republicans in general. They are all extremist psychopaths. Stop trying to make a distinction between MAGA Republicans and regular Republicans. They're all fucking psychos, dude.
They broke promises. I had to go find out what these promises were, right? He promised to use the 2022 baseline numbers as appropriation numbers
especially
for this year.
When the Republican Party goes, Democrats are either pedophiles or communist pedophiles. That are vampires. All of them are vampires. And on the liberal side, they're like, oh, I don't know. Let's go back to a reasonable Republican Party. The reasonable Republican Party wants to assassinate you. Now, obviously, they don't literally want to do that in Congress, but they're caving and capitulated to their base that fucking demands that from them. So shut the fuck up about this distinction is what I would say to the Democrats. But right now, today, we're all a little bit more liberal, okay? This is a day where the Never-Kevers and the Democratic Party joined hands in harmony and ousted Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker to be the first in history, the first House Speaker in history to lose a no-confidence vote and end up losing their position as House Speaker. That's right. He's a historic loser.
Don't care about. This has no effect on our viewers. Does it make our streets safer? No. Does it make our borders real again? No. Does it make our gas prices go down? No. It's just sound and fury signifying incompetence. And I get my sense is this was a personal thing. It's a personal thing that's being acted out publicly. And you know what? It's kind of pathetic. But that's my opinion, and I'll be going now.
So, the Speaker Gutfeld.
Yes.
Where's your gavel? We got to shine something
Judge,
up
can I
for him.
borrow your gavel?
Yes, you can.
So, McCarthy says it's personal. Gates says this guy signed off on reckless spending that he promised he wouldn't do. What does KDP say?
Well, Nancy Mace voted to oust Speaker McCarthy, which I think was surprising to people who were watching.
Why is that surprising?
And she says it was because it was about trust and keeping your word. Now,
why is that surprising? Nancy Mace is also like a trumped up
was lying,
weirdo.
Do that, what he said he was
What the
gonna
fuck?
do, but it's a 5-seat majority, and Matt Gaetz is sitting in a very safe seat in Florida. And when you have a number of Republicans who are in Biden districts, if you want a majority to win.
Maybe someone said the literal pedophile House Speaker didn't get ousted. Yeah, he is also a record holder. Dennis Hastert, the literal pedophile House Speaker, is the longest running House Speaker in the United States Congress. Now, something that's funny about that, maybe Matt Gaetz wanted Kevin McCarthy gone so we could replace him with Dennis Hastert, a like-minded ally in the war that both of them are fighting against the age of consent laws. I don't know, because there is really nothing here. There is really nothing else going on. I don't know what the fuck they are doing. I don't know what Matt Gaetz is doing beyond just like personally trying to boost his own fucking profile and doing it in this like psychotic way. Oh, let's hear what our liberal correspondent says.
Rub it in, Jessica. Rub it in.
That's not
Make
my
it quick.
style.
Pop off, Jessica.
No, I'm going to make it really long,
No,
actually.
no.
You hear a lot about the impossible job of managing a
It's time for
caucus
Jessica
like this.
Tarkov.
You only had a 5-seat majority. That is the same number that Nancy Pelosi had, and she managed just fine.
Yep.
Nothing like this ever happened when Nancy Pelosi was in charge. And the judge is correct in that they are squandering an opportunity. Today, Gallup released their economic poll data. Republicans have the largest advantage on who's better to handle the economy since 1991. And this will be the cycle for I don't know how many days, especially if they don't even go back and meet with their caucuses tonight. There are 18 Republican congressmen and congresswomen in districts that Joe Biden won. And those people voted for divided government. They said, we want Joe Biden in the White House, but we want to make sure that we have Republicans in control of Congress. This obviously signals that they made a big mistake. But McCarthy actually has no one to blame but himself. Obviously, Matt Gaetz has his own agenda, et cetera. Kevin McCarthy decided that he should go on Face the Nation this weekend and lie about how that continuing resolution got cut over the weekend. He tried to blame the Democrats. Marge Brennan pushed back and she was like, no, they saved your butt, like they did back in January. And it's being widely reported that if he had not done that, there would have been Democrats that would have shifted over and supported him to keep him in control of this. It was a big, big mistake that he did that, squandering that opportunity to hold on to the speakership for, I don't know, a few more months. But yeah, Nancy Pelosi, hats off to you.
Well, it's easy.
It's easy
to hold the line when you're a Democrat because you just want to spend trillions. Republicans don't want to spend that kind of money.
There's a diversity.
There's a big difference.
There's an ideological diversity within our party, but we're unified by the fact
you're
that
unified.
we're not
You want to break the bank, Jessica. Sorry, there's
Don't
no
act like
unity
you care
on the
about
Republicans.
spending. Republicans spend.
How dare you? How dare you?
Here we are, going to spend days, maybe weeks, figuring out who they're going to appoint next.
It's easy. It's Gutfeld.
Yes.
He's going to D.C. right now on the Amtrak.
Don't carjack me.
Don't miss tonight. Matt Gaetz will be on Laura Ingraham at 7.
Wait, from New York to D.C.? Like, that's where you live, Buttfeld.
After a Democratic congressman gets carjacked at gunpoint in our nation's capital.
They're moving on? There's no way they're moving on from this. Oh my God, they're moving on from this.
One of the more ultra-conservative members of Congress up against former Speaker McCarthy. Listen.
When I talked with you yesterday, before you introduced the motion, you didn't sound confident that you would have the votes. Now you do. What does that tell you about...
Listen, man, I told y'all to not get a dude from fucking Bakersfield and put him in a position of power, okay? I told y'all, and none of you motherfuckers listen, okay? This is what you get. This is what you deserve, okay? You get a dude from Bakersfield and you put him into a fucking position of power like this, he's going to fuck it up.
It's further evidence that the whole party's in disarray. And again, this started, Hallie, back in 2011, 2012. But Donald Trump And the culture that he's instilled in the Republican Party has accelerated all of this, has put it on steroids. And that's what pushed the party to the point where it's at today, where a small faction of members decided to embarrass their leadership, to diminish their party before the country, to send the message that this party cannot govern because it cannot even elect or keep a leader in one of the chambers of the U.S. Congress. And Matt Gaetz, someone who I know, someone who I served with, someone who I thought could actually make some contributions when he was first elected.
Last time I said I would mod Matt Gaetz if he held out on the Never Kevers, and you want me to mod Matt Gaetz, I'm not doing that. Sorry, I have a strict no pedophiles policy.
So I'm going to go back to Sahil Kapoor, who I believe is still with us there from Capitol Hill. Sahil? It's my understanding now, based on our team's reporting, that we know when the Republicans will get together to figure out next steps. It's going to be in about an hour and change from now, 6:30 Eastern time, according to multiple sources talking with our team. What's that going to look like?
They have got a lot of work to do, Hallie. I don't even know where they would begin here. They had not prepared for this eventuality as likely as it looked over the last few days. They simply, the vast majority of them, more than 90% of Republicans, have been unified behind Kevin McCarthy. They need way more than 90%.
So this is what forced the vote looks like. Does anyone else think this is helping push conservative policy? Yeah, exactly. That's why the forced the vote shit was stupid as fuck. Especially, like, even on the Democratic side, it still makes a little bit more sense because at least it's like associated with a tangible policy position. Let's say it was like Medicare for all or forcing a vote on Medicare for all. But even then, this is exactly what was going to happen in that situation, where it would just make these people look fucking insane. A comparison you can't make, by the way, within the Democratic Party, and I brought this up earlier, a comparison you can't make in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party is that the Democratic Party does not run on obstructionist policies, or rather the obstructionists within the Democratic Party are neoliberal corporatists who are always defended by the mainstream media, whereas obstructionists in the other direction that would try to disrupt process in the direction against, in the direction against corporate interest will be absolutely destroyed. No such similarity exists in the Republican Party, where the Republicans, their Republican base of support, do not punish the Republicans for doing this kind of thing. And even then it looks bad. Okay? Even then it still looks fucking so stupid.
That this is, Congressman Castro, Secretary Castro, I'll bring you in here. This is a Republican on Republican issue. The debate made that crystal clear. This is a matter for the Republican Party. But there was a moment about looking at the clock 7 hours ago where there was a question of whether Democrats might actually bail out Kevin McCarthy, perhaps. Conversations that were allegedly being had based on our team's reporting, some members getting calls, for example. And I'm curious as to your perspective on this, because we heard from the Democratic leader in the House of Representatives, Hakeem Jeffries, laying out the very specific reasons why Democrats...
Evidently, the Democrats don't know how to manage the economy, that there's such high inflation, just my opinion. Yeah, brother, it's the Democratic Party, because inflation happens and ends under the same fucking administration. That's how it works. Thank you. The economy moves and shifts in directions in a span of 4 years. Thank you. That was really cool. One, there's global inflation. Two, I don't know how the fuck Joe Biden actually, did global inflation. He is so powerful at doing inflation that he did it globally. Two, if you are even operating on like neoclassical macroeconomic principles, then how the fuck do you place the blame on the Democratic Party? I don't even personally believe half of that shit, but even I recognize that, yeah, if you fucking open up the money cannon on the one end, as Trump did, and also literally offer tax breaks to corporations and tax breaks to the wealthiest people in the United States of America, and then open up the fucking money cannon in the form of PPP loans that will never get realized, in the form of obviously the Trump bucks as well, which was a good thing overall. Like, yeah, you think that played a larger role in inflation then I don't know what the fuck. I guess like the war in Ukraine, which somehow is the Democrats' fault as well in this situation. Like, as much as I love criticizing the Democratic Party, some of these things are beyond their control. Now, you can make an argument that the Democrats could have done better deflationary mechanisms, but then you arrive at like fiscal policy instead of monetary policy, because on the monetary front, they're doing literally what the monetary side is supposed to do, which is, of course, lower interest rate. Increase interest rates to try to scale back on new hiring and try to reduce the tightness in the labor market. You know what I mean? But even then, it's not working because inflation is not operating on the boundaries of macroeconomic principles that you understand from school, that you learn in school. And that's precisely why so many people are just basically doing astronomy, including Pulitzer Prize winners and including Nobel laureates talking about our astrology, not astronomy. Fuck, I fucked it up again. God damn it. I always fuck it up. Fuck. Sorry. Anyway, including all the best economists out there who are just basically throwing shit at a wall and trying to associate the reasons why the economy is bad with their own pet project, their own personal perspective. In a nutshell, Democrats typically mend the economy through neoliberal policies, and conservatives struggle to uphold the already flourishing economy effectively, making it worse for the long term. But I don't agree with that either, because what the Democrats should be doing is not mend the economy through neoliberal policies to try to make this like made up structure work, but instead actually push for socialist policies or higher degrees of socialization, higher degrees of spending, not on the military-industrial complex, but rather higher degrees of social spending on areas that are in dire need of improvement, fixing the roads, building a robust public transit network that commerce can thrive on, okay? Railroads, things of that nature, socialized medicine, socialized housing. These are things that would actually also do the classic deficit spending, okay? Except this would be in a direction that genuinely improves the material conditions of the American working class and also genuinely improves the American economy in the long run. The way to enact deflationary fiscal policy would be to increase government social spending, to take away things from the private sector, plus improve the economy on large. Well, another thing that you can do for deflationary fiscal policies is just fucking raise taxes, which good luck doing that even with the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party had full control, okay? The Democratic Party had the ball in their court under the Obama administration, okay, where the Bush-era tax cuts for the wealthy were slated to sunset, and Joe Biden personally sidestepped Harry Reid to make those sunsetting tax cuts permanent. So there have been moments where the Democrats have not only like dropped the ball, but picked the ball up and fucking spiked it. So no, it is by design. How the fuck are we watching the Republican Party implode and we can't glow for more than 20 minutes without falling into infighting again? I don't think this is infighting. I mean, this is fun. This is great. I love this. I love watching shit like this happen. But obviously, at the end of the day, someone brought up neoliberal austerity that the Democratic Party implements that like saves the economy, but it saves like the current broken economy or broken understanding of the economy.
Position right now, albeit in a caretaker role temporarily. What does life look like at the moment for Speaker Pro Tem Patrick McHenry, who has been an incredibly loyal ally of Kevin McCarthy's to this point?
Just to keep the trains running as simply as humanly possible and not
6 people of 220 of them, not much infighting. No, that's you're losing the plot in that situation. That is a very important 6 people that unfortunately have, or I guess fortunately for us, unfortunately for Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans who want to just like be normal, have a lot of power. Well, it's 8. It's the gang of 8, I guess. Nancy Mace. Now, the situation is, normal, not like real normal, but like Republican normal, so they can just like get back to obstructionist policies anyway, which is, I guess is still the same issues that I was just bringing up, but this conflict is a spiritual one that impacts the core of the Republican Party. It's literally the same conflict that is playing out right now between Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump. It is the same. It's the same issue all around the Republican Party. The stink that they have right now comes from the suffering that they're experiencing from their own personal successes. There is not a popular momentum. There is not any sort of popular movement that says, oh my God, it's so fucking sick that you're like trying to kill 1% of the population in the country. I'm of course talking about trans people. Like there is no genuine single issue voter on the trans stuff. Okay. There isn't, in the same way that there is absolutely single issue voters on the gun stuff, right? The reality is that, and not even 1%, exactly. Like there's no appetite for this. There's no appetite for a national abortion ban. There was no appetite for eviscerating Roe v. Wade. There was no appetite for any of that beyond like marginal Republican bases of support, okay? And once they actually ended up doing the damn thing, once they actually ended up following through on their 35-year project, all of a sudden you can't even lie and be like, no, actually, we're not on board with like criminalizing abortion so that people who have ectopic pregnancies in places like Texas fucking die at the operating table because doctors are too terrified of going to jail for operating on them for a medically necessary abortion. So that is something you can't lie about anymore because you did it. You fucking did it. Before, you could have just dangled it in front of the fucking stupid evangelical Protestant Christians and been like, yeah, I totally want to do this. I totally want to do this. Oh, Democrats, on the other hand, they want to fucking kill your baby after it pops out of your pussy. They kept saying that. They kept fucking saying that. And they could get away with not really doing anything beyond the red tape and the trap laws and not criminalizing abortion, but basically making it impossible to get an abortion, especially if you're poor in one of these red states. But they had to fucking push further, you know? They had to do it. So now, when you actually follow through on some of those policies, especially ones that are so tangibly and immediately ruining the lives of people, including Republicans in red states, like Republican women in red states, Republicans who have daughters living in fucking red states who can't get an abortion, who are fucking terrified, right? All of a sudden, when you do that, there isn't a cognitive bias that can help you in that situation unless you're like completely fucking schizo. You're done. You're cooked. In the past, Republican voters could do that fucking Pew Research always comes to mind, where Republicans don't believe their own policies when focus tested on their own policies. Like Republican voters will be asked about Republican policies and they'll go, nah, they would never do that. That confusion can no longer exist when you do the things that you've done that immediately impact the Republicans' daily lives.